Welcome in to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate. I really faded that out too fast. Complete Real Estate, where experience and integrity matters. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to turn that off now. It has served its purpose. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. A little bit slower weekend of football, but we're going to break it all down and then didn't put it in the social media post, but we will be joined. So we're going to recap the games that happened this last weekend, and then we're going to be joined at 4:30 by Coach John Teasley from North River Christian. Got a big game coming up on Thursday night there in the AISA. And then we will take a look, possibly, we'll have to see what happens. We'll take a look at the rankings for this week from the NHSA. We'll talk about the playoff situation in quite a few of the conferences. Most of them are winding down. Some of them are done, I think. But we'll take, yeah. The regular season is done for, I know one conference for sure. And I think the other conference has one game left to play. So we'll break it all down and we'll talk through it. And really quick, I'm going to send – there we go. All right. Let's break down these games. Let's talk about them. Let's start – where are we going to start today? I actually want to start in Mississippi over in the MAIS. I know I don't talk about them that often, but had a game jump out to me, but I'm going to run through them all real quick. Let's start in 1A. Let's see. Tallulah Academy River Oaks, no score reported. Briarfield Academy 49-0 win over Union Christian. Sharkey Issaquena Academy 52-0 win, or 52-8 win over Claiborne. Calhoun Academy 28-8 win over Lee Academy. Park Place Christian 64-30 over Kemper. And then no score for Trinity Christian coming out of the HCAA versus Riverdale Academy, or Wilkinson County Christian versus Porter Chapel Academy. So hopefully some scores can get reported there. On Thursday, Franklin Academy 62-6 winner over Tensas Academy. But on Friday, one of the games I want to run over real quick is Hebron Christian at Marvell Academy, and a big matchup there. Hebron ended up getting the win, 28-26, just a barn burner game. And I want to run through these stats real quick. I don't think Marvell put stats on Max Preps. They did not. Hebron did. So let's look through it. Mostly a rushing attack for Hebron. Stephen Raines, their senior, 15 carries, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. A little bit of passing back and scattered throughout a couple players. But then in terms of defense, Raines turned around and had 15 total tackles, 14 solo, 5 tackles for loss. He had a sack, a fumble recovery, a forced fumble, as well as a blocked punt. Now the leader on the team tackles Ashton Wilson, 17 total tackles, 8 tackles for loss. 17 total, 8 solo, 2 tackles for loss. And that was the majority of his game. But those two seniors, the only seniors with stats listed on Max Preps, and they had a huge, huge game. So big win for Hebron Christian down in FIBA, Mississippi. Let's go to the MAIS 2A real quick. Let's see, which games did I not mention in the 1A? Potts Camp 21-14 winner over West Memphis Christian. Prairie View Academy 49-6 win over Hillcrest Christian, who is now in the MAIS. They were independent last year, and of course we saw them down in Florida, now in the MAIS and sitting at 1-9. Newton County Academy 33-30 winner over Christian Collegiate Academy, and then Ben's Ford Christian 34-24 winner over Prentice Christian. So some good football down there in the state of Mississippi. Let's come up to Tennessee. Let's talk about. Let's go to the TSI AA. Had two games this week. On Thursday, you had Franklin Christian Academy traveling to Riverside Christian, and the Falcons come away with a 43-0 win over the Knights, and I believe that will close out FCA's regular season. Riverside still has a game left with Franklin Classical. We'll talk about that later on. And then Grace Baptist hosting Lancaster Christian. Golden Eagles pull off the 45-20 win. So congratulations to them on that. And here in a minute, I'll run through the standings, and we'll talk about where everybody sits in terms of the postseason. Let's go to the SEC. Two games there as well. Tri-Cities Christian on the road at Victory Christian down in South Carolina. Eagles get the win 40-0. Freedom Cowboys hosting Sacred Heart of Jesus High School. Big SEC South matchup. And the Cowboys get the 42-0 win over the Knights. And that helps the Cowboys clinch that number one seed. My apologies. I got a little coffee in here. It's a little chilly out, so got a little coffee. Just kind of warm up a little bit. But Freedom Cowboys, big win for them, and they clinch that number one seed in the SEC. And they will host Tri-Cities Christian, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. In terms of the date, I think the time is set. Or the date is set. Still working out the time. Let's go to, speaking of South Carolina, with Tri-Cities going down to Victory, had a couple games over there. On Thursday, Pack Panthers taking on, let's see if they designated who this was. American Leadership Academy is who it was. So, big win, 28-6 for the Pack Panthers. So I say big win. It's a big, it's big to get a win. One of the closer games, now that I look at it, that they've had this season, obviously other than the kickoff game they had with the Lighthouse Warriors up in Gatlinburg. 38-22, they beat Jefferson Davis earlier this year, so a 16-point win. This one a 22. Yeah, that's the closest game they've had. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shutouts in a row. Yeah, 5 shutouts in a row this year. They had a stretch from Harvest Christian all the way to Orangeburg Christian. So, win for the Pack Panthers. Let's run through these stats real quick. Cam Humans, 8 carries, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Not a lot of passing in the game. Very rush-heavy game. Let's go down to the defense. Looks like Cam Humans led the team with 10 tackles. 2 of solo, 3 tackles for loss for the young man. Let's see who else had. Sean McNulty, 8 tackles, 2 solo, 1 tackle for loss. You're going to have Humans, Ashelman, and Patterson each with a sack. And then Reinhardt with the interception. Taylor and Patterson with fumble recovery. So big game for the Pack Panthers. Another win. They moved to 9-1 on the season. One of the very successful season that they've had so far this year. The other game taking place in the SIFA on Friday night, you had, because I mentioned Tri-Cities Victory, you had Augusta Eagles hosting Harvest Christian, and Eagles come away with a 52-6 win over the Hawks. All right, let's jump over to, let's go to North Carolina. Let's talk about the Tar Heel State. St. David's 72-0 winner over Liberty Christian. Halifax Academy 58-12 over Pungo Christian. Lawrence Academy and Community Christian, no score reported. Northeast Academy and Bethel Christian as well, no score reported. Berean Baptist got a 30-20 win over Father Capodanno. Rocky Mount Academy 59-40 winners over Cary Christian. And JP2 28-6 winners over Hargrave Military Academy. Those games played on Friday. Yesterday had Hobgood Charter again hosting Lee Christian, and no score for them. No score reported for that game. So that'll do it for North Carolina. Let's jump over to let's go to Louisiana. On Thursday, you had a couple games played. JPG, John Paul the Great Academy, 72-0 winner over Mount Olive Christian. JPG moves to 7-1 on the year. Acadiana Christian, 63-0 winners over First Baptist Christian. They move to 8-1 on the year. Now, they did play earlier this season, I believe. Let me pull up the schedule real quick. They did. First game of the year. It's kind of the same situation with Christian Community and FCA, Franklin Christian here in the Tennessee area. Probably the two best teams played first game of the year. One got the better of the other, but then throughout the whole season, they've just been building momentum, just rolling through the opponents. And so eventually, they will have to meet up in the playoffs. Yeah, because they only played each other once. They're only playing each other once during the regular season. So that matchup's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of fun. That was on Thursday. On Saturday, Southwest Louisiana Homeschool got the win over the North Shore Vultures, 22-14. And North Shore has not put any stats on Max Preps. Southwest Louisiana Homeschool did, or SWLA. So we're going to run through those real quick. Brady LeBlanc, 9 carries, 100 yards, and a touchdown. You also had, his name is Noah Pickle with a touchdown. 15 carries, 93 yards, and Stolsteimer. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, and no, I did not just sneeze. He had a touchdown as well as a catch for 10 yards. Scroll down to defense real quick. Looks like the leader was Brady LeBlanc, tied between LeBlanc and, again, Stolsteimer. I apologize. Gesundheit. Both with 8 tackles, 5 solos. Or, I'm sorry, 5 for LeBlanc, 6 for – I want to find out his first name. I'm going to say his first name. Scott Stolsteimer. That's a homeschooler for sure. Scott, as it were, with a sack, and then Pickle with the interception. This team has got to have some of the greatest names on this roster. I'm just noticing this. That's awesome. All right. Anyways, all right. I gotta be serious. Okay. Lock in. We will not have NHSA rankings today, so we're gonna keep it moving. Let's go to the Heartland Christian Conference. Roll through some of these real quick. Southwest Christian 46-22 winner over Crossover Prep rather. Unity Christian 40-8 winner over Arkansas Christian. Those games happening on Friday. On Thursday, Claremore Christian 48-0 winner over Life Christian. Let's go to the Kansas Christian Athletic Association. On Friday, 2 games are played. Sunrise Christian 58-12 winner over Wichita Warriors. And Life Prep 70, KC East Lions 66. Looks like it was a barn burner of a game. But real quick, let's go to Alabama. Let's talk about Bama real quick. Springwood 46-12 winner over Stewart County out of Georgia. Big win for the Wildcats there in Alabama. North River Christian 32-28 winner over Evangel Christian on the road in Montgomery. Ezekiel Academy hosts Southern Prep 74-28 winner there. And then Cornerstone Christian, 72-6 winner over Meadowview. And I wanted to see, yep, I did pull up those stats. Run through it for Cornerstone. Zeke Adams, 6 of 6, 137, 3 touchdowns. He also rushed 8 times for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. Noah Schober, 2 catches, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns. So 2 catches, 2 touchdowns. Some Travis Kelce level stuff. Scroll down to defense. Zeke Adams led the team, 9 tackles. And let's see if he had any other. Looks like Etheridge with a fumble recovery. Cossey with a forced fumble. And then Wilson, Cossey, and Alexander with a sack. So there you go. Cornerstone Christian with the win. Real quick, let's go to the CFA. Jacksonville Christian, Cornerstone Christian, Rainsville. Very hyped up matchup. This was number 1 versus number 2 in that conference. Really for a playoff spot. Cornerstone, I believe, was unbeaten in conference play. Let's see. Nope, they had lost 1 game to Russell. That's right, first game of the year. Game went to overtime. So if Cornerstone could knock off Jacksonville, then Cornerstone would have that number 1 seed. Instead, it was Jacksonville all night long. 46-7 winner over the Eagles. And Jacksonville did put some stats up. Noah Lee, as a sophomore, continues just wild. 7 of 10. I really want to see Noah Lee versus Zeke Adams. That's the matchup that needs to happen. No doubt about it. 7 of 10, 182, 2 touchdowns from Noah Lee. Travis Barnhill, 14 carries, 133 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Jesse Ganaway, 5 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Then scroll down to defense. Travis Barnhill, 11 tackles, led the team there. Moses Averett, though, 8 total tackles, 6 tackles for loss. Averett also had 4 sacks, just tearing it up. So way to go, young man. Let's just see. Tuscaloosa Christian, 56-28 winner over Tabernacle. Russell Christian, 47-32 winner over Victory. And here in a moment, I'll break down what the playoffs look like. They're in the CFA. I think they're set except for 1 game to be played. I'll talk about that in a second. I mentioned Southern Prep losing to Ezekiel. Southern Christian on the road taking on Evangel Christian. Lightning extend their winning streak to 27 games. 61-12 win for Evangel Christian. They move to 10-0 on the season. And they do not play next week, so that closes out their regular season. Lighthouse Homeschool, rivalry game against East Central Homeschool. And the Warriors on blackout night, 59-22 winner over East Central. So big win there for the Warriors. They moved to 9-1 on the year, and that one was against the 10-0 Evangel Christian Lightning. So there you go. That's the action from this past weekend. Like I said, not a ton of games. I know that sounds like it was a ton. It really wasn't. It's a lot of teams off on fall break. As you can see, SEC only had 2 games. TSIAA only had 2 games. So not a ton of football going on, but a team that did play this past week was the North River Christian School Chargers. Let's get their coach on the phone real quick.
Hello.
Joining me now is the head coach of the North River Christian School Chargers, Coach John Teasley. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me.
Yeah, no problem. Glad you got me.
Oh, I'm excited. I probably should have asked this beforehand. It's Teasley, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've mispronounced last names before. It's very embarrassing. Anyways, I want to jump straight into it, Coach. Obviously, the season didn't necessarily start the way you wanted to. Let me get this pulled up real quick because I don't want to misquote myself. And I know you probably know, but let's see. Where did it go? Gotta love computers. Not really. You don't have to.
That's right.
There we go. So like I was saying, you guys started off with Success Unlimited, obviously got the win there, and then 4 straight losses. Games didn't go the way y'all wanted to, and it seemed like y'all were in those games. But I want to get you to talk about what you and your staff were preaching to the guys going through that stretch, because you played 2 conference games, but you played 2 non-conference. So those losses, 2 of those losses, really didn't affect y'all in terms of postseason. But what was the message you were giving to your guys going through that stretch? Which sometimes teams go through seasons inside of seasons where it's just a tough stretch of games.
Yeah, no, we're basically starting from scratch at North River, and we got a lot of young kids that we graduated a good class last year, so we got a lot of young kids that's filling a lot of important roles for us, and our biggest thing that we wanted to do was just continue to get better and grow on the positive things that we were doing, and try to fix the things that weren't so positive for us, and the kids responded good. Our message to them is every team goes through storms, and and it's easy to call out the storm, but it's not as easy as to navigate through it.
Yeah,
And we were trying
absolutely.
to understand that we're looking for navigators, not guys that's pointing out the storm, but guys that can help us through it. And they started really focusing in on that and just trying to get through the mistakes that a young team makes, and they got through it. So I just all the hats go off to them, because it's nowadays young people can easily turn to the negative stuff and not really focus in on the positive stuff, especially when you're losing.
That might be the greatest promo I've never heard it put that way. You're looking for navigators, not lookouts.
That's right. That's
That's
right.
awesome.
It's so easy to call out the storm, but it's really hard to get through it. But if you stay focused and you do the things you need to do, you get through the storm. So,
Well,
and that's what we preach on.
absolutely. And once y'all got through that portion of the storm here over the last 3 games, you guys able to reel off a couple wins. You had the 2 conference losses, but then you got 2 conference wins and a little nice win over Russell Christian, kind of nestled right in there, a team right down the road from y'all. So coming out of that storm, you get these wins, you kind of build a little momentum back in. Um, but going into that Meadowview game, obviously it's a team that's struggling, has struggled for a while. With you guys coming off the losses, what was the guys' mindset going into that game? Because obviously you can't take anyone for granted, and you're looking for the navigators. But going into a game like that, you kind of have to be doubting yourself just a little bit, or was it complete confidence that, hey, look, we're going to come in here and handle business just like we've tried to do every week, and we're going to take care of this? And then it seems like that's built over the last couple of games to where you guys have been able to put some wins back on your record.
Yeah, no, if somebody's going to win the game, somebody's going to lose the game, and we really, yeah, you get a little frustrated, especially if you work as hard as we do, and you don't come out with the win on Friday night. But at the end, we try to keep our focus in on getting our job done, and we give them we call it a 24-hour to lick your wounds when you lose, and also a 24-hour period when you win. And then once those 24 hours is over, it's right back into focusing on the next team, and that's how we really do it. And we give them 24 hours to sulk a little bit and lick their wounds, and after a loss. But then after that 24 hours is over, and we start right back and preparing for the next team. And that's the way it's been every game. That's the way it'll continue to be.
You talk about the next game. Let's talk about that next game. It's Springwood. It's the number 2 seed currently right now in your division, and obviously it's a big game. They're 7-2. They've rolled through some teams. They hit a couple speed bumps there, but going into a game like that with an opponent like that, It's got to be a good feeling to be able to get a couple of those wins under your belt, knowing that, especially with you guys going on the road to Lynette, and then the travel that you guys have going from one side of the state to the other. You got to love being able to have that momentum going into a game like that.
Yeah, and we had our team meeting today, and like I told them in the team meeting, we look back at the 3 wins that we just got. I mean, it was 3 wins that were totally different. We had one win where we dominated the whole game, which was the Meadowview game, and then we had the Russell Christian game where we jumped out on top, and then had to figure out how to hold on to win the game at the end.
Right.
And then the last game we just played, we were down 28-6 going into the second quarter, and had to figure out how to fight from behind to get the win. And so we had 3 different type wins. And like I told the guys today was that there's nothing that we haven't seen. We've had to fight behind. So the only difference is we're going we're playing Springwood at Springwood, who is a very good football team, very disciplined, very big. They're senior heavy, a lot of experience. So we just got to we just can't let anything affect the things that we do. And we just got to stay focused on what we do well, and hopefully we can get through that game.
I want to get your reaction to this. I did look up the tiebreakers because if you have you guys in Springwood this week, and then you have Southern Prep and Evangel Christian out of Montgomery. So if Southern Prep beats Evangel Christian, obviously it comes down to you guys' game with Springwood, right? Kind of a
Right.
three-way tie. You guys beat Southern Prep. You No, Southern Prep beat you guys. You guys would have beat Springwood, and then Springwood beat Southern Prep. So a three-way tie, and with the point differential system that they use, you guys would have to win by 28 against Springwood. So to have the tiebreaker, get that number 2 seed, and get that home, that first round bye, as opposed to having to play that first round, which would be at home. But in terms of kind of the stakes that are there, getting into the postseason, is it ever hard to not look ahead like that and just say, look, we're going to take it one game at a time? Or do you ever kind of take a little sneak peek at the playoffs and go, we just need this to work out and this to work out? Or do you leave that to somebody else?
I leave that to somebody else. My focus is trying to get our boys prepared to play, and just really trying to somehow come up with a win, no matter what the score is, as long as we leave with a win. And that's really what my focus has always been on. And then I let everything else just shake out the way it's supposed to when it comes to tiebreakers and things like that. So, but yeah, it would be nice to go in and win by 28. But the goal is just to go in and try to survive on the road and win a game. And that's really what our focus is.
I do want to ask you in terms of how they have the tiebreaker set up. Do you like that the first couple tiebreakers, obviously there's like a head-to-head conference record, stuff like that, but do you like that the first few tiebreakers put the result back on the field, put the tiebreaker back on the field before it gets to like a coin toss situation where kids, the way kids season plays out, comes down to something like that? You got to love that they put it back on the field and put it back on the results.
Well, to me, when it comes to the point differential, is totally. I think that there's some situations to where you don't try to run scores up on teams, or you don't try to do things like that, or then you just have everybody going out trying to blow everybody out.
Yeah.
And that's the only part about it that I don't like. But yeah, I want it settled on the field, really. And so I think if we could come up with a better way than just the point differential, which I don't know how we could do that, because a lot of times when it gets out of hand, you get a hot clock and you can't score another touchdown, or you're in a situation to where really you're not really trying to do anything but just hold on and keep it close to where you can win. Our team is not built to score a lot of points early. We're that 5 yards and a cloud of dust team.
Yeah.
So it's just different to me. I think that when you do it that way, it kind of handicaps those teams that don't really that's a defensive team really, or a 5 yards in the cloud of dust kind of clock management team.
Well, in Alabama, as a whole, it seems like likes the point differential system. I know CFA uses first half point differential instead of the entire game.
Yeah, I like.
ACSC, ACSC with Evangel Lighthouse and them, they use point differential, but there's a 20-point cap, and so it doesn't take all those points into account. So
Yeah,
several different ways to do it, and I think I think it's a great system.
yeah,
Just because you can mix and match and do it a couple different ways.
yeah. I
Um,
think if you do the right combination, it would be perfect. But when it comes down to having to score 28 points on a team, really it's kind of crazy,
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
Coach, I want to give you a chance to give a couple of your guys what the kids call a shout out.
yeah,
Kind of promote some of your guys because you've had guys step up this season. The guys that you talked about earlier, some of the navigators that helped
yeah.
you get through that stretch of tough games and get into that stretch where you're able to reel off a couple wins, and some guys that you're counting on going forward in the season.
Yeah, I can give a shout out to Joshua Harris. That's our senior quarterback. He's really developed as we from summer to now. He's grew each week and understanding the position. He's never played the position before, and
Right.
we kind of threw it in his hands and just tried to coach him through everything and just him learning the position. And he stepped up really big, and I think now he's coming into his own in that position. So he's doing well for us, and we have a new running back that's new to the program, Andre Parham. He's he's rushing over 100 yards a game. This past game I think he had 189 yards rushing, and
And he's only a junior, Coach. You
he's
still
only
get him
in there.
back another year.
Yeah, he'll get better and better, uh, and he's learning the system. So you got two guys like that, and then you got our offensive lineman Noah Dockery. He's our starting center. He's really the anchor of that line, and he's played well because we got two freshman guard next to him, and so he's really being that leader to develop those guys, help with the development of those guys, make sure they're in the right place and pulling when they're supposed to pull and blocking who they're supposed to block and things like that. So those three guys really stand out to me on the offensive end. On defense, you got Graham Jones, who's a senior. He also, he's a middle linebacker, but he kind of has to play that corner spot every once in a while, depending on what teams we're playing. And he leads us in tackles. And then Hunter Guerrero, who is our defensive end, he's 6'7", 100 and he's
Ooh.
225, and everybody runs the other way. So
That's the kind of guy that doesn't rack up a whole lot of tackles, and you're like, man, he must be bad. And it's like, no, he just doesn't get the ball run towards him.
that's right. So yeah. So those are the guys that's really been navigating us through this thing, and all of them seniors too. They stepped up and took that role of leadership, and the guys look up to them, and they're the hardest working guys in the weight room, not just on the practice field. They straight A students. I mean, they're really guys that you really want leading your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about Graham and Josh and some of the other guys. Coming out of last season, obviously didn't end the way you wanted it to. You guys that lose, you get knocked out of the playoffs there. I believe it was the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that had to put some kind of like Paul Bunyan sized chip on their shoulder to just say, hey, look, we've got a little business to take care of this year. Was that the case, and did that come through during those off-season workouts and the weight room sessions and just all the extra work that those guys had to have put into this season?
Yeah, no, they honestly they wanted to win their playoff game, and an injury bug hit us right there at the wrong time, and in our season, that first round of the playoffs is the next week, and then you don't really get a week to get a guy back if he's injured or whatever. And we had three key players that were out for us, and Cornerstone got us at the right time, and those younger guys that are seniors now, they knew coming into what it was going to take to get through a long season. And that last year's season was the first time North River had, I think that was the second season that they've had a 10-game season. They're usually 8-game, 9-game season, 7-game season, and we're just trying to show them that football is it's a grind, and that it really it's a long season, and who can survive is the ones that's going to be on top, and that you starts in the weight room, and those guys lift every day, and they really trying to get better, and that trickles down to the younger guys, because that's the guys they look up to, and that's the guys that they're going to be filling in for when they graduate, and they know that our program is built on hard work, and we're going to work hard. So
Has it brought a little excitement to the school and to the program that, especially with the AISA picking up 8-man last year and giving everyone, giving the 6 teams a chance to be in the playoffs and play for a championship, whereas you guys had to be independent beforehand for a couple seasons. Did that build up excitement around the program and there in the school? The fact that you guys had something to play for now, other than pride and having a season, and everything. There was there was a trophy on the line that you got to work towards. So did it create an excitement with the program, and then the guys? Did you see any kind of change in the attitude in terms of, like I said, having something to play for?
yeah, no, they anytime you have a championship or a playoff system to play for, it always boosts makes you step a little taller and work a little harder, but it's very exciting around our school because just last year when we hosted that playoff game for the first time, I mean, we had a record breaking crowd. I mean, it was one of those deals where the school makes a little more money, and the paper writes about it, and I mean, it's really a big deal, especially for North River, to be able to play in playoffs. And in AISA, that we love the AISA, just the teams that we play and the schools we can compete against, and I mean, it's just it's a big deal especially for North River. Yeah, so the excitement is high, and they're excited that they get to host the playoffs again this year.
Absolutely. I was about to ask that. Obviously, the game didn't go the way you wanted to last year, but that's on the field. Your crowd had to be just – I remember when I came down last year, the crowd's great. The crowd
Yeah.
had to be great for that playoff game, and then the fact that you guys get another home playoff game this year, that's got to be so exciting for y'all.
It was. They were very excited when we announced it. We announced it after the game on Friday, and I mean, they're excited, and they're already right now. They're already gearing up for it. So the moms, the dads, all the faculty and staff, just so we could host a good event. So that's one good thing, and just being able to be at home to play the playoff game is always a blessing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and I want to ask one last question. Well, two. I got 2 questions for you. Obviously, we talk about AISA and being in there. It seems like the AISA is going to grow after this season. I know the reclassification comes up. It seems like there's several schools that could benefit from it. Is that the kind of the word on the street that you've gotten, or do you know anything about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know too much about it. I do know that's the word on the street, and I don't see why it would not grow. Just being, it's one of the oldest organizations for athletics for high school in the state, and
Well, and it's been so successful too. I think over the last couple years.
it has been, and now they moved to 8, which that'll expand, I believe, once everybody gets an opportunity to keep seeing the results that we're having, because we're one of the smallest schools in the AISA, and that an AISA school, a small school like ours, can fit in and be a part of something like the AISA. It'll definitely encourage other schools, I think, to want to be a part.
Absolutely. Last question for you: as you're putting your schedule together last year, because you get to do double duty, you're coach
Yeah,
and AD. So as you're putting
yeah,
your schedule together and looking at it from both sides of it, because I know it's a different way of looking at it depending on what hat you're wearing. But as you put your schedule together next year, is there anybody you look at? And this is kind of a chance for you to call your shot. Is there anybody that you look at over over the 8-man over Alabama or another state? You say, you know what, I really would like a shot to play this team. I think this would be a fun matchup. Is there anybody that comes to mind?
there's the teams that we're playing. We're like Lighthouse and Evangel, uh, East Central, things like that. The relationships that we're building with those teams is very exciting, and we still got a long way to go, and really just being able to continue to compete where we're at and with who we've been competing with is good. But there's so many good teams that's out there. You have like Ezekiel, and then you have Evangel Alabaster. I mean, those are some great teams, and
Coach, there's a team 10 minutes from y'all.
you talk about Tuscaloosa Christian.
Tuscaloosa Christian.
I make that call every year, buddy. Our school wants to build that rivalry back.
There you go.
We've actually been playing junior high football against them, and
that's awesome. Yeah.
If we can build it to where, and our schedules just hadn't lined up the way it needs to be, but I think now that we got me back, and then you got Jordan Potter, who's the AD at Tuscaloosa Christian. I think that we know each other well, and we know each other's hearts. So I think that we can build that rivalry back, because it used to be a big game.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that it's 10 minutes, right? Am I off on that?
It might be less than that. It might be 7.
See now my ADD now I gotta know. Now I gotta figure it out. Hang on, we're gonna pull up Google Maps real quick. North River to Tuscaloosa Christian, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
15 minutes from Northport to Cottondale.
That's it.
There you go. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me, and man, good luck Friday night with the game with Springwood, and we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens with it.
Man, I thank you, and anytime, man, you want to come back, you let us know.
Absolutely, I love my time coming down there. I'll have to get in a little main area though, the little side. I was a little shaky, but I would love to come down and see that crowd again. You guys were very hospitable, and I appreciate the time down there.
Yeah, we made a lot of renovations on the stadium, and we got a place for you now.
Oh, see now you made it to where I've got to come down.
That's right. We got a place for you now. We got a scoreboard. We got everything now.
Oh man, Coach, I appreciate you jumping on with me, man. Good luck Friday night.
Yes, sir. You too. You have a good one.
Yes, sir. We'll see you. That's Coach John Teasley from North River Christian. And I'm not just saying that. It was a very hospitable trip last year. Got the chance to go down there and do their game against Evangel Christian. So a big AISA matchup there. Close game, too. It was a really good game. So that was a lot of fun. All right. Let's talk through these playoffs. Let's see. Let's look at the Christian Football Association, the CFA, part of the ACAA. If I can get Max Preps pulled back up. Let's see. I'm going to get standings pulled up. But yeah, Tuscaloosa and North River that'd be awesome. 15 minutes from each other. They're different conferences, but they do play some similar teams. North River plays some CFA teams, and then Tuscaloosa plays some AISA teams. So, all right. If I get these standings pulled up. All right, here we go. So, number 1 seed, sitting undefeated in the regular season. 8-0 overall. Jacksonville Christian is 6-0. There are 7 teams in the CFA. So Jacksonville Christian unbeaten 6-0. Listen to this. 271 points for, 81 points against. So almost 200-point differential just in conference play. That's not overall. Overall is 376 to 125. So a 250-point differential there. Just wild. All right. So you've got Russell Christian, Cornerstone Christian. Russell Christian and Cornerstone Christian tied at 4-2. They are both 4-4 overall, but tied at 4-2 in conference play. Cornerstone with the loss to Jacksonville the other night. And both of them with about a 50-point differential plus. So both of them sitting at 2-3 now. Russell did beat Cornerstone first game of the year in overtime at Russell. So right now Russell holds the tiebreaker. Coming up this Friday night, and this will kind of be a way to go through some of the games that are going to be played this weekend. Let's see. The only conference game to be played is Tuscaloosa Christian at Victory Christian. Now, Victory Christian this season 2-4 overall, 1-4 in conference play. That win coming against Success Unlimited. So, I presume Tuscaloosa will win. They are plus 40 point differential. Victory is minus 60 just in conference play. So I'm going to say that Tuscaloosa will win. I'm not doing predictions this year. I'm just throwing it out there. Let's say it, okay? So Tuscaloosa beats Victory. Tuscaloosa moves to 4-2. So now Russell, Cornerstone, and Tuscaloosa all 4-2 in conference play. Russell beat Cornerstone. Cornerstone beat Tuscaloosa, and then Tuscaloosa actually beat Russell. So my understanding of the CFA tiebreaker is conference record. So they're all tied at 4-2, and then or head to head, and then first half point differential. So the way it plays out is that Cornerstone Christian was up by 21 in the first at halftime versus Tuscaloosa, and they were down 1 to Russell at halftime. So they have plus 20. Russell obviously is going to be plus 1 versus Cornerstone, and then they were down by 8 to Tuscaloosa. So they would be at -7. And then Tuscaloosa down 21 at halftime to Cornerstone, and then up by 8 against Russell. So -13 or 13 under is their number. So the way it would shake out is still Cornerstone at number 2, which was huge because now they host Russell. So now we run it back like 3 months later. Russell versus Cornerstone at Cornerstone. And then Tuscaloosa would go on the road to Jacksonville, which, let's see, when they played earlier this year, 48-32. So only 16 points between the two teams in that game. So very, very good game. Matter of fact, what was the halftime score? Does it have it? No halftime score. Okay. Anyways, so now if Tuscaloosa does lose to Victory, they go to 3-3, and they will still be unbeaten in conference play. Tabernacle's done in conference play. They're 2-4. Victory would be 2-4. Success Unlimited's done at 0-6. So Tuscaloosa playoffs are locked in. It's going to be Jacksonville, Russell, Cornerstone, Tuscaloosa in the playoffs. Only question is, who's going to host in the first round? Because if Tuscaloosa loses, then it's just Russell and Cornerstone, and Russell beat Cornerstone, so Russell gets the number 2 seed hosting Cornerstone. If Tuscaloosa wins, now you have the 3-way tie. Cornerstone has the tiebreaker. Now they host. So that's the only thing left to be figured out in the CFA, and that all comes down. Actually, it's Thursday night. Thursday night at 7, Tuscaloosa and Victory. We'll talk through the rest of these CFA games real quick. Russell Christian, they are at Mississippi Phoenix Sports Academy, MPSA. Tabernacle is at East Central Home School, so Torches and Patriots. And then Southern Prep is at Cornerstone Christian, Rainsville. Those 3 games taking place on Friday night. So there's that. Let's see. Next place we go to. Let's talk about the AISA. We just had Coach Teasley on. Let's talk about the AISA. Let me get the standings pulled up real quick. All right, so Cornerstone Christian Columbiana. 8-0 overall, 4-0 in conference play, so only one game left, and that game is against Evangel Christian Montgomery. Now, granted, all AISA teams get into the playoffs. It's just a matter of seeding. So Cornerstone Christian, one game left against Evangel Christian Montgomery, who is 1-2. So far, Evangel Montgomery has Southern Prep and then Cornerstone left. Southern Prep 2-2 in conference play. Cornerstone 4-0. And then we just talked about it earlier, Springwood and North River. Springwood 3-0 in conference play, about a 90-point differential. Cornerstone has a 100-point differential. Southern Prep 30 points, and then it goes into the negatives. North River looks like about 25 points. Evangel Montgomery actually dead even, 102-103, and then Meadowview outscored 321 to 124, so 200-point differential there. But North River and Springwood this week, that's a big one. Obviously, we just talked to Coach Teasley about it. If Springwood wins, they move to 4-1. North River would move to 2-3. Southern Prep has Evangel Christian Montgomery. And so it kind of come down to whether or not they win or lose that game. If they win it, so it really doesn't only come down to North River and Springwood. It comes down to Southern Prep and Evangel as well as Evangel Cornerstone. So let's wait to talk about how that'll all shake out. But in the AISA this week, Southern Prep is at Cornerstone Christian Columbiana. I'm sorry, Cornerstone Christian Rainsville, North River Christian at Springwood, Cornerstone Christian Columbiana at Evangel Christian. I mentioned that's going to be a big one. And then Trinity Christian at Meadowview. Now this one's interesting. Trinity Christian 0-6, Meadowview 0-8. So this could be the shot for Meadowview. I don't want to misquote this. Now Trinity Christian, their last win came last year against North River. So they beat North River. North River, the only win that Trinity Christian had last season. And then overall for Trinity Christian, they are 8-2. Looks like North River they've had the most success against, sitting at 3-3. Yeah, so they've won 8 games since 2019. So not a ton of wins, but they did have one last year. Now, Meadowview, for those of you who are not familiar, coming over from the 11-man side of AISA, their last win let's see if we can their last win, according to Max Preps, came in 2017, and it was actually when they were playing 8-man in the CFA, and it was a win against Tuscaloosa Christian. So their last win coming in 2017, since then winless. So this is a huge opportunity for Meadowview and for Trinity Christian as well to get a win in there. So yeah, that's how the AISA shakes up. Let's look at the TSI AA real quick. And I would love to break down other conferences, especially as they get closer to the playoffs and as things start shaking out. I'm not as I know I kind of got a little bit of an explanation on how the playoffs work for like the Heartland Christian Athletic Association. I think the SIFA is, I think it's all teams make it. Maybe I'm mistaken. Um, I know that I don't think their playoffs have started yet. Maybe after this week. Let's talk about the TSIAA real quick. Regular season is done. Let's see. It should have been. There we go. All right. It has South Haven Christian at 1-3. Which conference game is not on here? 1, 2. Oh, Innovation set as a non-conference game. Yeah, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's go back to standings real quick. So Franklin Christian 5-0 in conference play this season, and they've got a 150-point differential. Christian Community 4-1, that one loss coming to FCA. They have almost a 100-point differential. Grace Academy 3-2 with about 25 points difference, and then it goes to South Haven Christian at let's see, it would have been Innovation, I believe, that they set as non-conference. So 2-3 for South Haven, and they beat Innovation. Let's see, what was the score in that one? 54-0. So for South Haven, their point differential, after you add in the Innovation game, about negative 25 points. Lancaster Christian at 1-4. They were negative about 35 points. Then Innovation 0-5 with 150 points. So all the teams in the TSIAA get a playoff spot. And so the way it'll shake out, FCA and Christian Community have a first round bye. Grace will host Innovation, which they just played a couple weeks ago. And then South Haven will host Lancaster Christian. Yeah, because South Haven 2-3 on the season. So South Haven will host Lancaster, Grace will host Innovation, and then the winner of South Haven and Lancaster, they should move on to play Christian Community, but we'll see. That it might be FCA. We'll see how it plays out. But that's going to be the first round. South Haven, Lancaster, and Grace Innovation. No more regular season games to be played in the TSIAA. Let's go to the SEEC and break it down real quick. Let's see. And both of those TSIAA games, I believe, should be set for Friday night. This Friday night at 7. We'll see. But I believe that's how they're set up. Now, for the SEEC, you've got Tennessee Heat. Now, the way SEEC does it is they have the divisions. So however you finish in your division is whether you're the 1 or the 2 seed. So Tennessee Heat at 2-0 in the North. Freedom Cowboys also at 2-0 in the North. And then, so they have the number 1 seed. Tri-Cities Christian, 1-1 in their division. So they are the number 2 seed. They'll be on the road at Freedom this Friday night. And then also this Friday night, Sacred Heart and Zion will match up. Both of them have had their struggles this year. Both have 1 win overall, but are winless in conference play. And so the winner of that game will be on the road to take on the Tennessee Heat next Saturday. And then Freedom and Tri-Cities is next Friday night. So those playoff games happening on the 27th and the 28th. This upcoming weekend, though, for Riverside Christian, I'm sorry for the SEEC. Franklin Classical is hosting Riverside Christian on Friday night. Sacred Heart and Zion, I mentioned that one. That one is for that second seed in the SEC South. And then Freedom Cowboys and Tennessee Heat. It's the Independence Bowl. They've played it the last couple seasons. And so big matchup there between the number one seeds. Always a fun game between the Cowboys and the Heat. And that game as well is a rematch, not just the rivalry Independence Bowl rematch of the championship from last year. Obviously, two totally separate teams, but it is a rematch of the championship. Let's go over. I almost forgot. Let's go to the ACSC there in Alabama. Let me get these standings pulled up. ACSC top 4 teams get into the playoffs. So Evangel Christian 4-0, Lighthouse Warriors 3-1, Ezekiel 1-2, East Central 1-3, and then Southern Christian 0-3. So Southern Christian and Ezekiel facing off this Friday night for that last playoff spot. If Southern Christian wins, they're in. Now, they are 0-3 in conference play, 2-4 overall. Ezekiel Academy 1-2 in conference play, 6-2 overall. So, non-conference games, Ezekiel 5-0. Non-conference, they have about a 70-point differential. Evangel Christian has a 370-point differential. 370 points. Lighthouse Warriors with about a 230-point differential. Ezekiel overall with about a 70-point. Then about 90-point positive for East Central. I think Southern Christian's the only one with a negative. About a negative 90 there. In terms of conference play, Evangel Christian, 150 points in the positive in conference play. Lighthouse, 80 points. And then it kind of goes into the negatives a little bit. So Ezekiel and Southern Christian, that's for that last playoff spot. Actually, you know what? If Southern Christian beats Ezekiel, Ezekiel beat East Central beat Southern Christian, so we go to point differential. So we're going to wait and see what happens with Ezekiel and Southern Christian there. Well, we'll go ahead and look at it. Let's see, East Central. So East Central beat Southern Christian 40-0, but there's a 20-point cap, so essentially 20-0, and lost to Ezekiel by 8. So they would be plus 12. And then Ezekiel. So they would be plus 12. Ezekiel currently is a plus 8. So they're slightly below them. And then Southern Christian would be a negative 20. So Southern Christian, big uphill battle to climb if they do win and are able to tie the records. But let's say they don't. Ezekiel goes to 1-3. Ezekiel beat East Central. So that will hold on to the 3rd seed. And they would travel to Lighthouse Warriors. East Central would travel to Evangel Christian in the first round of the playoffs. So, games coming up for the ACSC. Talked about Tabernacle East Central. And then that Southern Christian Ezekiel game. That's a big playoff game there down there in Alabama. So, that's that. Let's see. Other conference game. Let's see. Let's run through some of the other games coming up this Friday night. Let's go to the SIFA. Pack Panthers at 9-1. They are taking on the Coastal Hurricanes at 3-4. All these games again happening Friday night. Harvest Christian 2-6. They are on the road at Orangeburg Christian 0-6. Victory Christian 3-5. They are at the Augusta Eagles 7-1. Let's go to State of Louisiana on Thursday. I think JPG might have had a game scheduled. I don't know that it'll be played, though. Friday night, Mount Olive Christian at Northeast Baptist. Mount Olive at 2-6. And then it's got Northeast Baptist marked at 0-2. Let's go to the state of North Carolina. Bethel Christian 0-3. They are at Pungo Christian, who is 4-3. Liberty Christian 0-6 at Father Campadano at 2-6. Rocky Mount Academy 7-2. They're at Faith Christian 4-2. Halifax Academy still unbeaten at 6-0, heading to Lawrence Academy at 5-2. Berean Baptist 3-3. They're on the road at St. David's, who are 4-2. Howard at 2-3 on the road at John Paul II, who are 5-3. Wayne Christian, this is a big one. Wayne Christian 7-1 at Arundel Parrott at 5-2. Now, if you'll remember, Arundel Parrott just won that big game against JP2 a couple weeks ago, and Arundel Parrott did not play last week after beating JP2. So Arundel Parrott comes in somewhat rested against a 7-1 Wayne Christian team that I believe they did not play last week as well. So two teams coming off a bye with a lot of momentum. Yeah, Wayne Christian's last game was on the 6th, and they beat Faith Christian 50-14. So that's a big one there in North Carolina. Lee Christian 0-5 at Brunswick Academy 9-0. And then Sandhills Classical Christian at 0-3. They are taking on Cary Christian, who are 3-5. So those are your North Carolina games. Let's go to the Heartland Christian Conference. This Thursday, Faith Christian Homeschool Academy. Never heard of them. Let's see if I can find them on Max Preps, because I'm not sure where they're from. Madison, Mississippi. They are the Tornadoes. Let's see who they've been playing. Let's see, they've played Hillcrest twice, played Unity Christian twice, and they beat the varsity opponent in one game and lost the other one. Might be two different schools. 1-1 against Hillcrest, and then 0-1 against Unity. And then for this past Friday, they're claiming a forfeit win over a varsity opponent. It does not specify who that was. So, Unity Christian hosting Faith Christian Homeschool Academy. Southwest Christian, they are hosting Destiny Christian. Destiny at 6-1, Southwest 3-5. And then Cross Christian is on the road at Claremore Christian. Cross Christian at Claremore Christian. Cross at 4-0. Claremore Christian at 2-4. And shout out to Terry Kinnett. Grace has a bye. Innovation not in the playoffs. So either they backed out of the playoffs or, well, I guess TSIAA does have that first-year rule where you can't play in the playoffs. So hold on a second. So let me back up, because this is interesting. So Grace has a bye. Christian Community has a bye. Yeah, how do you have? Hold on a second. Let me pull this up. I just curious. This is not a reflection on any team, okay? Just so you know this. How do you have more teams on bye than playing a playoff game? You got 2 teams playing a playoff game, 3 teams on a bye. Come on. That's crazy. But shout out to Terry. Appreciate you. Hey, that's wild. Anyways. On Friday night in the Heartland Christian Athletic Association, Crossover Prep 3-3. They're on the road at Abundant Life 5-1. And then Trinity Christian at 1-6, taking on Arkansas Christian at 0-7 is the game that's supposed to happen. Now, Arkansas did play this last week against Unity, so they should be able to put a team on the field. Let's go to the Kansas Christian Athletic Association. And on Thursday, Sunrise Christian 6-1, taking on Veritas Christian at 0-5. On Friday, Manhattan Eagles, Cornerstone Family Saints. This is a rematch actually, of that conference championship game last year. The 2 teams with palindrome records, Manhattan 5-2, Cornerstone 2-5. Just so you know, Cornerstone's got some sick uniforms. If you go on their Instagram, there's some good looking uniforms. Just there you go. Just had to let you know that. But Manhattan, 5-2, Cornerstone 2-5, rematch of the KCAA championship game last year that was won by Manhattan. On Saturday, Cornerstone Spartans, they are scheduled to play the Wichita Warriors. Cornerstone 2-5, Wichita at 5-1, and then the game that's kind of wrapped up the season in the last couple years, KC East Lions 3-5. They are at Northland Christian at 2-6 rather. So big game there between those two. Let's see. SEEC. Let's go over to the SEEC. This Friday night. Well, no, I already went through those when I was talking about the playoffs. Never mind. See, who did I not talk about? Virginia. Let's run through games coming up. Thursday, Broadwater Academy at Southampton Academy. They're both 4-3. These games happening on Thursday. Blessed Sacrament Huguenot 3-3, taking on Fuqua Academy at 1-6. On Friday, Massanutten Military Academy 1-7 at Covenant 5-3. Lee Christian 0-5, taking on Brunswick Academy 9-0. Quantico 0-7 at Greenbrier Christian 2-5. And then Rappahannock County at Chincoteague, who is at 3-4. And then on Saturday, Christ Church School 5-0. This is a big one. Christ Church School 5-0, taking on Virginia Episcopal School, who is 6-0. So big matchup there in the VISFL. And then Kinston Forest 5-2 at Richmond Christian, who is coming in at 3-5. Want to look at the, if you'll bear with me, want to look at the Northern 8 Conference real quick. St. Mary's Central Catholic 5-3. They are at North Adams Jerome. I did not mention the scores from last week either for the Northern 8. Toledo Christian, big 52-0 win over McKinley. Danbury, 40-14 winner over Stryker. Holgate, mad about that Toledo Christian loss, so they came out and beat Chalker High School 58-32. Holgate 7-1, and then St. Mary's Central Catholic 5-3. They beat Morenci 40-6. So McKinley and Chalker will be playing Friday night. McKinley 1-5, Chalker 3-2. Toledo Christian 6-2, taking on Brenton Deerfield at 2-3. Danbury 2-5, taking on Camden Frontier at 5-3, and then Holgate 7-1, taking on Morenci 5-3. Let's see, anybody else that I missed? I don't think so. I think that's it. I think I got all the score, all the upcoming games. So, talk a little bit about the playoff setup. If I did not cover your playoffs today, if you will, shoot us either an email, 8manextreme@gmail.com. Social media, you can message Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Shoot a message with the playoff setup, how the seeding works, and maybe how tiebreakers go. If there's a link to it, that's cool too. But just shoot it over this way, and I'll break it down next week along with your standings. And I think that just about does it for Extreme Talk, presented. Might help if we hit the right song. Presented by Complete Real Estate, where experience and integrity matters. Thank you so much for listening. Go catch a game this Friday night. There's some big ones. We'll talk to you next Sunday. See ya!